Hello and welcome to Old Blighty, specifically Silverstone. This is a video about an endurance event hosted by Scottish legends, and their endurance events have the same format always, namely 2 hours of free practice before anything racy happens. Then there's a good length qualifying session. I think this time again was 20 minutes. And then there's a race of 1 hour and a half, 90 minutes. I don't think any pit stop is mandatory, nor refueling or tire changes. But with it being 90 minutes, you're kind of forced into it. Because at least with the car I always drive, the Porsche 992 GT3R to be precise, you can only take on 120 liters of fuel, and I needed about 150. So unless you're gonna do extreme fuel saving, which I think will slow you down more, you are kind of forced into that pit stop. But I suppose there is room for alternative strategy if you want to give that a go. I didn't though. Anyway, if you watched my previous videos, you will know that this came shortly after another endurance event at Silverstone. But the other one was by the community Rev Racing, so different communities, different people driving in them. But for me it was great because the one came very quick after the other, so I felt I had Silverstone quite good in the fingers already. And then in free practice I looked to improve my lap times here and just reacquaint myself with the heavy fuel load, and then also make sure to get in some practice for the fuel load in qualifying, etc. And this was my best practice lap. As you can see, I'm about 7/10 up on my delta, which was already a 201.4. And I think at this time my personal best was a 201.1 or 201.3. I think 201.1. So looks like I'll be diving into the 2-minute zeros for the first time. I just needed to bring it home around the last real corner, because this next one is flat out without issue. And there we go, new personal best on this track. I was very happy to start the event with this in free practice, so 2-minute 0.6. Cool. Then we went off to qualifying, and the weather had been announced as mixed, which I was very much hoping that it would remain dry, because I'm not exactly a wet weather specialist. We entered qualifying and it was raining. So I immediately went to change my quali setup for a wet weather. I'm pretty sure the one I had saved was just a regular quali setup, but then with tires changed to wet weather tires, and then I'm pretty sure I called it a day. Now in the meantime, I learned other things you can adjust as basic adjustments for wet weather compared to your regular setup. So I think I first did a lap with what I already had saved beforehand, and then I will make those other adjustments. So my first effort, 2-minute 11.0, of course super slow, but it is expected to lose time with weather, though not as much as this. Then I adjusted my setup, and then I did some laps, didn't really improve, or maybe went past the track limits. And then the track started drying really hard. So on my last attempt on wet weather tires, I was expecting slicks to become the optimum call very, very soon at this point. So on my last attempt, I was really crawling to the line, trying to stay on the wet spots on the track to try and keep my tire pressures below 30. Because before I went and did this, they were screaming bloody murder. The pressures were so high. So this is then the end of that quali effort, and I improved by more than a second and a half. So I move up to P8, and as you can see, my tire pressures were indeed super high. So during this lap, the message came that the wet weather tires were no longer optimum. So for the last 5 minutes of the qualifying session, it was time to switch to slicks. And I was thinking, okay, I'll switch to slicks, but the track is evolving so fast all the time. So I'll make my adjustments here, and then I'll set out, and I'll make sure to be slow so that I can complete the lap in and still have room for one more lap. So off I went. Unfortunately, as the lap progressed, I noticed that my tire pressures were completely wrong. So I ended up parking it up, heading back to the pits with a bit more than two minutes on the counter. And then I did a frantic attempt to still get to my outlap completed before the timer came to 0, but I didn't quite manage it. So my time didn't get updated anymore, and I ended up getting P12 for the race. So here we are at the start of the race, a rolling start as per usual, and the plan here is to just stay out of trouble if I can. My start wasn't fantastic, but not that bad either. Car behind is coming very close and just pits me. I get bumped into a bunch of times, and it feels like my race is already kind of in tatters, since I did pick up some damage in all these contacts. If we look back, there's one major player here. So I'm middle of the screen, teal Porsche, and the car behind, the Biondo in the white Lamborghini, just kind of runs into me, doesn't evade me at all, and immediately sends me sliding into the car next to me. And finally, I think Davidenko still ran into me with the brown McLaren, I want to say. In any case, brown. So, yeah, very sucky start for me. On the other hand, I'm thinking this race is 90 minutes long. There's a lot of time here to make up for what I lost at the start. And as I'm driving along through the S's, it doesn't feel like the damage is too bad. So I just think to myself, all right, head down and let's get this done. Don't give up, just make the best of it. So off I went. First car in front of me is Davidenko, and I'm about 4 seconds behind. So I'm looking to catch up to the pack in front of me as fast as possible. Now, luckily, the cars were all still very much together. There were basically 2 packs, one front and one back pack, if you want. So as these cars are still quite intertwined, they'll probably be looking to make moves on each other and then losing time in the process. So I'm hoping as well, with them being back markers, that I out-qualified, even though my quali lap wasn't that great for my level. I'm hoping I can catch up quickly and start making moves through the pack. And yeah, that's the way it seems to go. So by the time we get to the Wellington Straight, I'm a bit closer already. The car in front is now Bignon. Davidenko did put an overtake on Bignon, so that's now who I'll try to catch up to. And that brings us almost to the end of lap 1, for what hopefully will be a great race, despite the start. And as I come across the line, I'm only 2.5 seconds behind, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I already caught up by about 1.5 seconds, since I noted the gap earlier in my commentary. And then actually coming through Cops, I seemingly have a much better line. As well, I feel pretty confident that for my current pace, that maybe Sector 1 and specifically the S's might be my strongest part of the track, compared to where I am in general with the track. And as we make it out of the S's, I am indeed super close behind Bignon. So I'm thinking if I can make a move here, perhaps into Stowe's corner, to be seen, of course. I am on the outside, they choose to defend the inside, and I run a little deep, so I don't quite get the move done. But then there's Vale, and in Vale they run a little deep, so I have a much better line through the first part of Plop, and I'm right behind them. So yeah, I can't really make a move there because I'm too close behind and there isn't enough room to maneuver at the speeds we're going, so I can't move to the inside, for example. But during my practice sessions, we just went through Abbey, the fast right-hander, and I found a better line through that corner as well, so I was finding a lot of improvement there. So again, I felt pretty confident through that corner. And then as we make our way to, once again, the Wellington Straight, Bignon makes a move on KL, and I just slip on through with him. So first move of the race done. If we look back at it in the replay, here we go through Abbey, we do see that I'm catching up to both of them. And then as we make our way to Village, I'm even closer, and then in the loop, this one's called the loop, KL just goes too deep, so Bignon can move through on the inside, and I slip right on through without any issue because KL was so slow because their exit was very poor due to them being so far on the outside and not being able to get on the throttle as quickly. Now, through all of this, I'm still super close to Bignon as well, so one move done, but hopefully the second one will follow very shortly. As we make our way through Woodcote and past the start-finish straight, I have fallen a bit behind, but then we're coming up to Copse Corner, where once more I had found improvement during the practice sessions, although I have to say I didn't have that line quite down as much yet, so I was looking to improve that further during the race. But then importantly we come through the S's, and here we can see how much more of these curbs I cut compared to Bignon in front. And then especially on the last one, the inside curb, I take more of it, and then even still on the outside, on the exit, I use more of the space as well. So yeah, clearly a better line. I'm not closing actually, I'm even falling a bit behind. I guess maybe it might be a car setup thing, or maybe I was still, despite me using the space well, a bit too careful on the throttle. But regardless, I'm not too far behind, so no harm done here. Now coming into Vale, they go over the pancake, the sausage curb. I don't know, I keep saying pancake sometimes. So that gains me a little bit of time. And then once more we make our way through Abbey, and that's the corner I gained so much, as well as the follow-up farm. So here I close the distance a bit. Then I cut this apex much better on Village. And in the loop 2 I run a little less deep, so if all goes well I should be closing up a little bit once more. Now there's always the concertina effect, so even if I may have closed the distance it may not show immediately. Although, seeing that they're 1 second ahead, maybe I just used the space better but still didn't gain time through my throttle usage. Regardless, the real last corner of the track, Lovefield, and the one right beforehand, Brooklands, I do take definitively better than them, so now I'm right behind them as we go across the start-finish straight. I don't want to run into them through Copse, so I'll back off a little bit beforehand, but then hope to get a better exit, which I do. So good application of slow in, fast out for that one. And then we head to the S's, and here I just want to put a lot of pressure. I know I'm right behind. I feel I can take better lines through here. I know I'm big in their mirrors, so I hope they feel that pressure, and seemingly they do, because I have a much better line once more. And they actually get on the throttle too early despite running a little bit wide, so they have to get back off of it, and that gives me a lot of overspeed as we head down or towards Stowe's corner. In Stowe, they come back a little bit. I was leaving room on the inside still, even though I think I didn't really need to. And then as we head to Vale, I figured they would try for a move on the inside, so I took a bit the middle of the track. But then my braking point was slightly messed up. So I go a little bit deep, but then I pull it back through Club Corner. Yeah, we can see it better in the replay once more. So here we are coming out of Copse, heading through to the S's. I'm so close behind. Got about the same curb there, a bit more on that one for me. Definitely more on that one, but not really visible. And then here I don't cut that much of the curb, almost nothing, but they run quite wide of it, so my exit is far better than theirs. And I'm already alongside, actually very early here, so I'm ahead by the time we get to Stowe's corner. They are very close by, so I do leave the room on the inside. And then as we head towards Club, I see them moving towards the inside, so I park it in the middle of the road, forcing them to make an awkward choice really. They can take the inside and take a very tight line, or they can go towards the outside, but then the move comes so late it's difficult with the braking. So yeah, works out very well for me, even though I run a little deep in Club Corner. They run wide of this curb, and for me it was so on the limit. If you see here in the super slow-mo, there was barely any part of my tires still on the curb, but barely any is more than nothing, so no track limits for me, and also the move is just done. I'm past Bignon and got my second nice overtake of the race that I was feeling happy about. So despite the start, I'm really feeling that I'm getting in the zone here, and I was feeling amped. I was hyped. I was brimming with confidence even. I think due to the previous endurance race on Silverstone, where the result was in the end not great, but it was due to a tactical error, not so much my driving on track, which in fact I was very, very happy about. So yeah, that was my takeaway from the previous session, and that led me to be feeling quite confident here to be able to make it back to hopefully P10. So my goal before this whole event, I haven't mentioned that yet, but was to improve my personal best and get into the 2-minute zeros, which I did during free practice. And then I was hoping to make top 10, because these lobbies are generally really quite competitive. There's quite a few very fast drivers in here, so anything in P10 I'd be very happy with. Now, during all of this rambling, we're already 15 minutes into this video, or actually more. And coming out of the S's, I have gapped Billon by more than 2 seconds now already. So I can put Billon out of my mind and focus fully on Davydenko in front. So this is the brown, I think, McLaren that really rammed me hard at the start of the race, but not due to their fault. It was Biondo that actually took me out. So no hard feelings towards Davydenko. I just want their position in the race. I want to take it from them. So I am hunting them down, and I'm coming now within the 2 seconds frame behind them. Here through farm, the previous corner, I felt so confident. I was cutting the curb there, and something I hadn't done before this race, but it was gaining me time every time I did it. So feeling super good about that. Here, cutting the curbs more. Just in general, I was attacking the track so much harder than any time before. And here, despite the heavy fuel load, it's paying off, because my personal best in the race was 2-minute 2:01.9, and I'm up on that delta now. So anything in the 2:01s, I'm very happy to be setting as a time, given that the fuel load is so high still at this point, 64 liters as we speak. And then my race engineer gives me the good news, so I'm gaining on the car ahead, and specifically in Sector 1, which didn't come as a huge surprise to me, because as I said, I feel the S's are my strongest part of the track, even though I improved on a lot of the other corners now. But here I'm cutting so much, I was feeling straight emboldened by that message, cutting a lot of the curbs again. And then always make sure to go slow in, fast out, especially on the last part of the S's. Here we can see that it pays dividends, as Davydenko is now within 1.3 seconds in front. So yeah, catching up a lot just through that first sector alone. Again, through Stowe's corner, I get some good improvements. They run a little deep into Vale, and gives me a better run through Club, so once more I'm closer. And we're heading to Abbey once more, the corner that I improved my line on just in the past couple of days. Again, cutting much more of a curb than before. Here I missed the apex a little bit, but managed to bring it back to the outside for entry into Village. And then the loop, unfortunately I slowed down a little bit too early, so I was closing up, but I do think I will lose a bit of time here again. So gap about 1 second, I would say now. In Brooklands, I haven't fully found my new best line yet. I was trying different things there by, for example, staying more on the outside, going into it, and then straightening the wheel earlier so that I could have a better exit. But then the run afterwards towards Lovefield, the last real corner of the track, just is so short that I'm not sure if it's really worth it. But anyway, in Lovefield I had a big moment coming out of it, so that cost me some time, and now I'm once again a second and a half behind. but it didn't worry me too much. I, of course, want to avoid that going forward, but we were immediately after going through cops and the S's, so I figured I'll just take it back there. I don't really make back all the time, and in fact, I also need to check my mirrors because Billon is coming back a bit with those mistakes. Within 1 second mark even. But then in stows I make sure to use the space well, and here we are coming a lot closer. Unfortunately, into Vale I run way too deep and I lose the time again, and now Billon is right on my ass. So for the time being I have to put any plans of overtaking Davydenko on ice, and I have to focus again on Billon behind. Through Village I run a little deep, and then Billon comes super close into the loop. I hadn't fully figured out my brake point for that one. I did improve on it, but still kind of searching a little, and they ended up bumping into me. And I figured they could do a bump and run here, so just bump me wide and then have a better exit themselves. But I think they were a bit tentative on the throttle, exactly to avoid getting an overtake out of it. So not the best driving to bump into me in the first place, but I appreciate the fairness and the fair spirit that they display there. So yeah, thanks Billon if you ever see this. All of this did have me questioning a bit myself, and yeah, of course I lost time to the car in front, especially in Club or into Vale. I ran so deep that Club was all messed up, and then I had to go on the defensive for Billon. But coming out of it, I think, alright, the best defense is offense. I know I can drive it faster than either of these two guys, so just put your foot down, be aggressive, attack the track as hard as I can again, and just re-gap Billon so that I can put him out of my mind and focus once more on Davydenko. And that's exactly what I do through the S's. I'm very aggressive there. I'm well up on my own delta once more, and Billon is now 1.5 seconds behind, while Davydenko is within the 1 second range once more. But then, as often happens when you're trying to be so aggressive, I overdrive a bit, have to catch a slide, and the gap in front opens up once more. Billon comes a little bit closer, and that's how it goes for a few laps. So skipping ahead about a lap and a half, we just went through Copse Corner and now heading into the S's. And here you can see once again how much more of the curb I cut. And especially the last one is crucial here. They basically cut nothing of it, and then they have a very difficult exit where they have to wait very, very long to get on the throttle. Whereas I have a better line and gives me plenty of overspeed to get alongside. So we're now heading to Stowe's Corner. I'll try to keep it a bit tighter on the inside here. Of course, leave them enough room to move through, but not more than needed, because that's a mistake I made earlier in the race. Heading towards Vale, we're still side by side. I have to be very careful here since I need to still leave room and it's already a tight space. And then in Club Corner they pull out a bit ahead. I think the line I had is just less good there. I prefer to be on the outside into Vale, but not much I could do. It was just the result of the whole line through Stowe's Corner, and basically the line Davydenko chose to defend before we got to Stowe. So here we see again the S's, and yeah, just I use more of the track, making for a better exit. So now, of course, I also get the draft on this long straight. Then pull alongside, come towards the inside, but leave enough room. I think I have a bit of a slide there, so maybe I was a bit too eager on throttle. And I'm marginally alongside, heading towards Vale, closing in a bit more. But then here my line is so tight, and yeah, Davydenko has the much better line there through the first part of Club, so I'm already behind, and then they have the inside apex. And actually on the exit even I ran a little bit wide. I think I must have hit track limits even though I didn't have any time gained. But if we take it back to the super slow-mo, then at this point I'm pretty sure, or very clearly, I'm no longer on the black and white curve, which is where the racing track ends. No biggie though, I'm still very close behind Davydenko, so I'm fully ready to launch an assault part 2. Just have to be mindful of Bignon, and immediately I get a good shot here as we approach Village, and they have a very funky line. That's all I need, so we can take a quick peek in the replay. So here they wait very long to move back to the outside, and then that leaves the door wide open on the inside, so I just run in there. And during the race, I have to say, I felt that my braking point was a little late and I didn't feel fully in control of the car, so I wasn't actually super happy with the overtake. But watching on the replay, I don't know, I feel like it's clean as a whistle, so I'm not sure if maybe I'm just looking at it wrong now. I don't know why my vision on it is so different. But yeah, that's how I felt during the race, anyway. But right, so one goal, get into the 2-minute zeros, done during free practice. Goal number 2, get into the top 10, done at 20 minutes into the race. And despite a poor start where I got hit hard and had to start basically all the way from the back. So yeah, what's next? I figure I should be able to gap Davydenko and Bignon. I feel I've been displaying better speed than them, and now I have clear air in front. So first objective here is to just widen that gap through the S's especially, as per usual. And as we exit the S's and the concertina effect starts to show itself, we can see that indeed I already have more than a second gap behind. Now it's a bit early maybe to start looking in front because there's Duchesne and then McDowell and Camaras. And those three had been pretty tight together on the track for the entire race so far, so for about 20 minutes. Especially, I think, Camaras and McDowell were battling just really, really hard. So I hope they will keep it up, which then hopefully will allow me to catch up with them. And Camaras especially was a big target for me, because I feel like I've been improving at this game, and I suppose at sim racing in general, with leaps and bounds over the past few months. And so far in every session they've been better than me. Every session that we drove together, which has been maybe 2-3, but they're endurance events, so the results are relatively reliable since it's a large sample size of laps that you put down. So yeah, for me, a very big target. If I can get past Camaras, I'd be delighted. It wasn't the target beforehand, but since we have more than an hour to go, more than 2/3 of the race to go, and my targets are reached, I figured it's time for new ones. So yep, as I complete lap 11, I'm gaining on the car in front, as my race engineer says. Also, I think I didn't actually look at it now, but either the previous 2 laps were the exact same lap time, or this one and the previous one were the exact same lap time, which was a little funny. Not sure if I've had that happen before. Of course, it doesn't matter so much, but yeah. I was looking at it particularly because I was so close on improving my personal best, and then both times I came very close until the last corner of Luffield, and then I lost it there by 1/10 of a second, or less, basically 2 100ths of a second. Anyway, time skip. I moved a couple laps ahead, and at this time in the race I'm very close behind Duchesne, and the gap behind is sufficient that I'm not at all looking at it anymore. More than 3 seconds gap on Davydenko. So yeah, eyes ahead, and we see Duchesne through Abbey missing the apex, and then a bit similar through the follow-up corner. So that brings me very close behind, and then coming out of the loop and heading onto the through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight, I'm very, very close behind and getting drafted along. I think about making a move here, but I feel I'm too far back and I don't have enough speed to actually get it done. So I just do a little move to the inside to make myself bigger in their mirrors, increase the pressure. And yeah, we go through Brooklands and Luffield without further incident. So here we are. But good thing for me, as always, I feel confident in Sector 1. So I'm very happy to be so close behind. Actually, my race engineer tells me gaining in Sector 2, which was good news as well, because if I'm improving on them in Sector 1 and I have another sector where I can win out, then perhaps I can do an overtake and get a gap very quickly. So I am chasing them through the S's. I have a bit of a slide myself, but still my exit is far better because the slide happens on the curb and they basically miss it. So here we go for what's maybe becoming a bit of a signature move. Better exit out of the S's and make a move into Stowe. So I get the move done quite easily, but then I was a bit pinched on the inside on entry and they use all of the track. So on the exit they do make a bit of a comeback towards me. Also notice the dust clouds, by the way, so Kamahas and McDowell in front are fighting heavily and we are just kind of chasing them down, but to get to them I will first need to overtake Duchenne here, so yeah, here we go. And yeah, move done as we roll through Stowe. They do have a better line there, but then on the exit they can't really do much because they have to run all the way to the outside, which I was already doing, so no way for them to overtake. Now it did look to me like they would try an overtake there, so once more I put it in the middle of the road kind of to defend and force them into a difficult decision. And once again also I run a little bit deep into Vale, but for the third time once again I managed to hold on through it to club anyway, so that's the move done. It did cost me a bit of lap time, but that's a price I happily pay. Now into Village they do come very close, but it's a pretty difficult section with a pretty set line that you can't deviate from too much, so unless your opponent makes a big mistake there you won't get an overtake straight away. If anything it would come down this Wellington Straight. And there we see me leaning forward to take a well-deserved sip of water from my water system with a straw sticking out. Duchenne is clinging on very much, so I do feel a bit of pressure from that, but same as before with Davydenko and Bignon, I think to myself that hey, we came from so far back. I put a whole bunch of laps on them that I just was faster, so that's all I need to keep doing here to drive away from them. And the S's are coming up, so just make it happen. So here we go through the S's. My lines were actually less ideal than before, and especially this last one I completely messed up. I missed the apex by a lot, and all I can do is that they spray that they did the same, which to be fair they did previously, so there was a good chance of it. And yeah, as we head down the straight they were very close, just a 0.3 second gap, but they don't manage to close in on the straight, although they do through Stowe's corner. Now here once more they are making seemingly a move to the inside, so I employ my defense from before where I park it middle of the road kind of, and either they go to the inside and have a super tight line, which would be too slow, or they go to the outside, but that's a lot of distance to cross. So in the replay all of this will be quite a bit clearer. So I see them on the inside, I park it middle of the road and they do move to the outside, but having to do that move and then you still have to adjust your eyes and hit your brake markers, and it's really hard to then be very brave on the brake and try to outbrake me. Especially on the outside you have to do so much then on the brakes that it becomes very hard. So yeah, I was pretty happy with the defense there. We continue, of course. I went through Abbey and Farm and now through the loop. So here we go. Duchenne is sticking very close to me. I was hoping to kind of break away a bit more. Yeah, do what I can, and let's. First goal is always to try and get above the 0.7 mark on the straights, because that's where there is a drafting, so they get a boost by being so close behind me, get a bit of extra speed on straights, just because the air resistance is lower in my wake. And for the last lap I did a 2:03.3, so yeah, not great, but if you're watching a car behind, you're always gonna lose a bit of time because of it, so it's not the biggest deal. I'm just about at the 0.7 mark for the gap behind, but also importantly, I'm closing in on the cars in front. We can see that they're still dueling heavily, and actually I rewatched the broadcast after the race, and the broadcaster was commentating that, guys, if you're battling for this long, especially if you're the car trying to overtake, it's maybe best to try and think about an alternate strategy where you maybe do an early pit stop and then try to do a longer second stint, because just by battling you're losing so much time. And yeah, there's a lot of truth in that sentiment, and as we can see, it's allowing me to catch up super quick. To be fair, I'm also matching kind of my best lap of the race so far, so I'm in the 2:01s again currently on my Delta. So I'm also putting in the work to get so close, but yeah. For example, here it's so obvious they're battling and taking non-ideal lines, and just going through two corners, Village and the loop, I'm way closer. Skipping a bit ahead because it was just more of the same. So Duchenne was now solidly dropped behind, gap at 2.5 seconds on the straights, and I closed in a lot in front also, even though it's not showing that much yet. But once we go here through Vale and then Club Corner, that's where I'm really getting closer to the action and just looking to join the fight. And McDowell had been trying for super long to get past Kamajas, so I was hoping to have a bit more impetus just joining the fight suddenly. I was hoping to make very quick work, have a bit of a surprise effect on my side to get the pass on McDowell, and who knows, still Kamajas. Added bonus for me is also that, of course, they are battling, so if they put up the defense against me, it will still be with somewhat divided attention, because I'm sure they're also still looking in front, given that the gap between them is just 0.5 seconds. Here we see McDowell and Kamajas take very different lines, and both lines are ones that I tried during the race. For the most part, I'm taking the McDowell line, where I'm pretty tight on the apex in Brooklands, and then I'm also pretty tight on entry of Luffield already, and then just run a bit wide mid corner to then do a double apex on the exit more. But yeah, coming through the S's, these are the first opponents, I think, that follow more my line. And actually, a couple of days after this race, there was discussion in their Discord community, and people were remarking on, oh, look at this overtake I did, I was so close on the black and white curb, I can't believe it counts as track. So it seems that not all people even realize that the black and white curbs are actually part of the track, so it doesn't count for track limits. And you really need to abuse them on Silverstone to get the optimum times. So yeah, I pull again my signature overtaking move basically for the whole race. So better line through the S's, even though on the first or second curve of the S's I didn't actually hit the apex well at all. But then on the exit, that's the important one, because then you head out onto the straight. And when I was watching the broadcast afterwards, also they commented on how much extra speed I had here over McDowell. that I managed to pass quite a bit before we even got to Stowe's corner. And the effect carries me closer to Camaras as well. I didn't pay that much attention to it, but I think I also must have gained so much time on that straight, because then heading into Vale and Club, I am already right on their gearbox. So through Abbey, I have to take it a bit safe, because I don't want to run into the back of them. But then here in a village, they just run deep, and basically that's all I need. In the loop, they're still alongside, but I have a solid lead over them, so I can put the line as I want it, and I keep them very, very tight on the inside of the corner, which then gives them limited opportunities to get on the throttle, and they have to be very patient with it. Here, from the point of view of McDowell, we can see how close it really got. I left enough space, they didn't have to go onto the sausage curb, so it was, I think, definitely clean pass. But yeah, from their perspective, clean pass, but pass nonetheless. Now, McDowell from this tried to make hay as well, and tried to make a move here on Camaras. Again, in the broadcast, they also commented on this one, and I feel a bit the same. Surprising that they didn't kind of go for a dive there, because it looked like there was plenty of opportunity to try and make a move. But yeah, a big part of racing is being decisive, and just if you see an opportunity, go for it. You don't of course have to be a donkey and just dive into any gap, even if it's closing. But I think I joined the fight here, and I went up and over very quickly, just being decisive and yeah, not lingering around. So yeah, I'm at this point in the race. I was thinking that, okay, what's my next goal here? I was looking in front, and I'm now solidly best of the rest, I would say. So the top 6 have taken quite a lead, and I'm nowhere near close to catching them. I now skipped several laps, so just to show that, yeah, actually not all that much had changed, except people started pitting. But yeah, basically the car in front of me is Marty Fox, and I had done a pretty long first stint, so I figured I'll just pit now, and then I mess up so bad. I was considering, okay, how can I mess up this race? And came to mind was, yeah, under fuel, because I recently had that experience. Maybe crash out very heavily, take a lot of damage. What I didn't think about was on pit entry coming too hot. And here we can see I was way over 50 km/h when I entered the pit lane after the speed sign. That had me rattled a bit, so then I overshot my pit box and I had to be moved back a little. And the reason I was rattled is because the penalties for speeding in the pit lane are super harsh. So you only get it when you leave the pit lane.
We have a stop and go penalty.
And there we go, I got a stop and go penalty, so I had to come back into the pits and then stand still for 30 seconds. So basically I had to do an entire extra pit stop, and I was gutted. Because before the pit stop I was P7, and I figured, okay, I just need to bring this home. And then after the pit stop it was like just sadness, because I knew I had to come back in. And here I am trying to serve my penalty. I mess up even stopping in my pit box. I think, like, please, why are you not starting the countdown? But this first stop sign needs to be in view, I guess. So I had to reverse after a few seconds, and I was just bleeding time all over. So in the end, I exit pits after serving my penalty. Luckily, I didn't speed again. I mean, luckily, it's just on me, of course. But yeah, I come back out of the pits after serving my penalty in P13. So I tumbled all the way down the order, and it would be nigh impossible to catch back up. So yeah, very, very sad. Now also, because I was in the pit so long, the faster cars started getting blue flags, which I was very much hoping to avoid, and I was doing a good job of, I would say. So yeah, not all people have pitted yet, so once Marty Fox and who was the other guy? I think Ice pit. The order will still shift a bit, but spoiler alert, I'm way behind P11, P10, and so on. And without the extra pit stop for the penalty, I would have just been P7 already and would only have to bring it home. And I was driving very solid, consistent laps, so I don't think bringing it home would have been an issue at all, if not for my huge mistake in the pits. So yeah, happy days are over. Of course, there's still about half an hour to go in this race, so plenty of time to think about, okay, what if this? What do I do here? What can I still achieve? And I was looking in front, and Biondo seemed to be in reaching P12, but then on just the last lap, they pitted. So I overtook them without having to make an actual pass. So yeah, nice to gain a position, but didn't get much joy from it otherwise. And then I was looking in front again, and I saw Bignon and what's the other guy again? Maybe Duchesne. Oh no, Davidenko were battling out front. So I was monitoring them a bit, and I was about 30 seconds behind, so never gonna catch that up. Then suddenly a lot of the time dropped, and I went in the replay to look, and Bignon basically hit Davidenko from the back and then waited for them to get going again in doing so, they avoided a penalty. So that allowed me to come closer, but I'm still more than 20 seconds behind in a race that's just a little over 20 minutes to go. So I would need to make up very consistently second per lap. And then I would still need to do the overtake all within the race time. So that was never gonna happen. And it didn't. And in the end, Bignon still had a penalty, I believe, a 5-second penalty. But I couldn't get close enough to even capitalize on that. The only thing that did happen still is that McDowell went into the pits. I'm not sure why. But anyway, that then gifted me P11, so I didn't pass anyone on track anymore. I was still pushing flat out here because I figured this is the very last lap of the race. And I figured maybe if Bignon crashes, and with the 5-second penalty, maybe I can catch up. But it just led me to over pushing, and then I was blue flag passed still by P3 and P4. So even more sadness. And yeah, my race engineer says good job, you did the best you could. And for the most part that was true. The only thing I really did wrong was over pushing right at the end to spin. And then the major gaffe, speeding in the pit lane. So yeah, definitely a lesson to learn. On the other hand, I was still pretty happy with the race. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, on lap 30, I believe, I did a 2 minute 0.4. So new personal best for the track. And the goal of getting into the 2 minute zeros very solidly reached. And yeah, also afterwards I was checking the website because they have a bunch of stats, and on pace I indeed would have been P7. So it's just the penalty that prevented me from it, but I mean, I have no one to blame but myself. So all in all, I came out of this with a good feeling. I was very happy with the pace I displayed, and speeding in the pit lane is not the mistake I'm gonna keep repeating. And yeah, all in all, good experience. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.